out to the side, and it kicked out so fast it went back into the middle, and Karmine Corp just like that take the lead, and now a chance to extend it. Vatira first touch into a double tap, picturesque from Vatira.
Too much space. It was a free play session for him on that one because no one was there to contest him, and he was trying to get there, but
how many players can win an RLCS major but also win the offensive and overall MVP title? How many players can consistently top the charts in analyst and fan lists of top overall players? And how many players have cemented their legacy in RLCS with a team chant ending in his name? Rise, Joyo, Vatira. That's who we're talking about today, Vatira. What I'm most impressed by this player is not only their consistency, because ever since they started winning in RLCS in the winter split of last season, Vatira hasn't dropped out of the top 4 in any European regional, but also their explosiveness. He didn't just get the offensive MVP in the latest winter major of RLCS, but also the major before that. What this player can do with the ball is otherworldly, and Vatira has set himself up for building a true legacy in RLCS.
So Vatira as a whole is honestly one of the more interesting players because he's a younger career so far, but definitely one of the more veteran players when you look at the sort of post-COVID bubble. This dude came onto the scene in an absolute blur. The joining of him plus Joyo and Rise really created such an unstoppable trio that came more or less out of nowhere. I got to see Rise and Joyo and their climb up as they were working through the bubble scene within EU. And that was awesome, but it was a little bit, different than what we saw with Vatira, where this dude joined the two of them and then just kind of all three of them exploded very quickly. And I think that the proof is in the pudding to put, research into teams like this, because Queso came through that roster and everybody was absolutely dazzled. People knew Vatira was going to be something special from the very start. He was very clearly not only a very mechanical player, but just somebody who had a lot of promise for somebody so young. Again, I think he just turned 16. So there's a lot that impresses me about Vatira at this point. He feels like a player who has unlimited potential as it stands right now. And I think one of the biggest factors, in my opinion, is that drive to want to win. He talks about it constantly. Nothing will satisfy him but the very best. And I think that his major win so far is just the start of everything.
As well on FaZe, had a great fall major performance as well, probably his best performance of the year. And so can he capture that magic again against Moist? It's gonna be tough with Vatira's flip resets coming from the ceiling, and a 1-0 lead for Moist.
Who needs double taps when you've got flip resets? And Vatira and all of Moist so deadly in the air.
The highs and lows of Vatira teaming up with Joyo and Rise make for such a memorable team in all of RLCS. It begins before they even joined Moist Esports. They had a winter split in RLCS 2021-22 that was so successful. They won 2 of the 3 European regionals, got second place in the other one. And then the winter major in LA, I was there, first time me witnessing this team ever. They make this incredible lower bracket run, win 5 matches in a row, and then bracket reset G2 to play the final series in the grand finals, but end up coming just short and finish second place. This is what solidified this team as one of the top teams to perform. And it wasn't just on Vatira's shoulders. This is a composition of Rise, Joyo, and Vatira, who are all so mechanically gifted. Joyo especially, he came from a freestyling background, which means he's exceptional when he gets time and space in the air, even in a professional 3v3 setting. So Moist Esports, this was a no-brainer to pick this team up. They got better and better as that first split with them in the spring split went, won the final regional, won the international major, the spring major, got that revenge, but then fell just short in Worlds in one of the most entertaining Rocket League matches in all of history against Furia. And Vatira laments on this scenario and kind of why he eventually did break up with Moist Esports. And there were a few different reasons as to why he kind of leaves after that world showing. This is such an incredible team that everyone wanted to continue to see together. So many people had questions as to why would Vatira leave Moist Esports after this. He chalked it up to a few reasons. Number one, there is a language barrier. Vatira being French and Joyo and Rise being English, it was a little more difficult to communicate in everyone's native tongue. Obviously, Vatira can't do that. There's also the fact that Moist Esports were known for not taking scrims too seriously, and Vatira said this straight up. He said, I am committed and determined to be the best in the world, and I will be. And if there's a little lack of professionalism in my team that's standing in the way of that, then I'm going to change it up. I'm going to refocus, and I'm going to move. Other things in terms of different play styles and the team not just committing to winning a series, it always seeming to go to game 5 to game 7, not just calling a midway timeout and closing out the series. It all gathered together for Vatira to leave and switch to Carmine Core to rewrite the narrative and continue his legacy.
His performance with Moist Esports was awesome because I remember when they were Queso, and I remember when they were doing pretty good as Queso. They kind of came into the scene, like I said, in a blur and just started doing really well. And then as soon as Moist Esports picked them up, it was kind of like, all right, this isn't just a flash in the pan. This is a real, very real team. And I think that when Moist grabbed Vatira, that's when he also started to sort of show that drive, the determination that he was not going to just be satisfied with, being second best. Because again, that's what we saw at, I believe it was the Winter Major, where they came to LA at the time and then ended up losing to G2 in the grand final with one of the most impressive lower bracket runs anybody had ever seen in the history of RLCS. And then they go to EU. It's in their hometown, or at least the hometown for Joyo, I should say, and for Rise, or maybe not hometown, home country, if you will. And they just absolutely decimate. They look like a fantastic team, and that was kind of where people knew that Moist was going to be somebody crazy. I think they did really, really well up until their time. Top 8 at the World Championship is great, but it's also stings when you lose and set the record for, the most impressive performance ever out of a South American team, and it's because they have to go you. I think both of those teams could have absolutely gone to semifinals and maybe even the finals, but they ran into each other at the very beginning, and I think it was a little bit difficult for the two of them to kind of afterwards, just kind of accept defeat, specifically for, I would say, Vatira in particular. Why did he leave? I think it's because of that. I think it's because, he felt the sting of the World Championship, realized that he couldn't quite what he wanted to with his roster. He wanted a roster that was all in French, that had really, fluid, clean comms that he could try to speak to a little bit more. And also, he just wanted a different type of work ethic than the guys who were on that team at the time. So he left. And, Carmine Corp is Carmine Corp. He might have made a good decision.
A good touch out, pass out between James Cheese to move the ball downfield. Virtuoso won't be able to do too much, and that's a big clear from Vatira. Realizes on the way back, trailing, and won't be able to block that. He hopes to go in. K-Corp get the first goal after catching James Cheese, dipping their hand, getting a little too much dip on the chip.
Vatira joining Carmine Core was, to me, like a college student finding their first perfect job outside of college. Because, yeah, you had some fun with your team. Might have lacked a little bit of professionalism, but now you're here to do the work that you are always grinding to do. Vatira looked for a team that would give him a world championship title, and this looks to be the best place that he could do that. In the fall and the winter splits, they make the grand finals every single time. They've won the most recent international event, that being the Winter Major. Saw that live in San Diego. This team looks amazing. And the reason Vatira excels so well here is because this team plays with synergy, with aggression. It suits their very mechanical, explosive play styles. That's not just being Vatira, but Exotic and Itachi.
Why did he join Carmine Corp? Like I said, he wanted French comms. I think on top of wanting French comms, I think he wanted to be able to also just play with players that had the same determination and drive as him. Carmine Corp was a good roster last year, and I think the organization itself really was determined to try and build something around Exotic, one of the more up-and-coming players with the scene. And Itachi as well was another huge pickup for them. The team just wanted to win. KC is huge. KC's got a really, really, really strong army behind them. They got one of the largest streamers on the planet that supports them in everything they do. And I think that their entire idea is that they're determined to win. They're determined to be the best, and they'll do what it takes. And Vatira has that same mentality. So I think that so far, Vatira has done exactly as he was supposed to on that team. He has dominated in more ways than one. And on top of just being a dominant player individually, on top of being a dominant player as a team, they're now producing results as well. They've had a multitude of regional events that they have won. They've now won the last Winter Major. That was in San Diego. So KC's done a lot of incredible things, whether it's through their rotations, through their mechanical ability, or just honestly every single way that they outsmart a team and overpressure them from midfield. These guys are built differently. I have no idea what the ceiling is for this team, but it is ungodly high.
Squad.
Hard. I don't know if that word does it justice.
Oh my!
Maybe it's impossible. Vatira with the air dribble bump play.
And this one felt like 15 seconds in the air from Vatira, and he gets a bump through 2, and then it comes off the backside of his car, and K-Corp in the first 15 seconds strike first. Why not?
You know, this is absolutely a top team in RLCS. Will they win Worlds? I think they're very much geared to do so. They do face a tough opponent of Vitality with the latest quote-unquote prodigy of Zen, who have most recently taken them out of the upper bracket in the latest regional. But Vatira is focused, hard-strung on getting that World Champ title. I think he still has a fabulous shot at that with Karmine Corp.
Can Vatira lead Karmine Corp to a world championship? I'm gonna be real right now. I think they probably have the best odds out of any team on the planet here. Vatira is just determined to do the very best, and he is being helped by a lot of teammates who, like I said, have the same mentality, who are playing at that level. Exotic and Itachi are absolutely unreal. I think the biggest concern that they're going to have is running into teams like Vitality, who now find themselves with Zen, who have an ability to try and contest them. Maybe some peaking NA teams. When Gen G's on their day, they look almost unstoppable. FaZe, the exact same idea. They have a couple of different errors in that grand final, and we're talking about FaZe right now taking home that trophy in San Diego. So I think that they have the ability to win this championship upcoming. And I think that even if it's not here, I think absolutely that Vatira's got championships in his future. Whether it's more major champions, he's one of the only 2-time LAN champions in RLCS post-COVID history. The only other one's the guys from BDS. But in terms of multiple majors, he is the only one as far as I'm aware. I think he's got an unlimited potential at this point. Vatira will go down as one of the GOATs. Everybody we've been talking about on this show really does have that potential. But I think that Vatira's almost already cemented his legacy. 2 back-to-back years of incredible results. Being able to take a major home in his first year of playing. Being able to put up a performance like he did at the World Championship. And then after that, already take another major home. He stays on this trajectory, this guy is going to be in everyone's mouth for the rest of eternity when it comes to RL esports. RLCS has found themselves not even a diamond in the rough. He is already a diamond, and he has got unlimited potential for what's next.